My current workflow is actually to host my open projects on SSDs, and then I back up everything else archived onto these external drives. It's not the most efficient backup system, but it's just the most cost efficient for me at the moment. As you can see, I've got a few different SSDs in front of me, and unfortunately they don't all work as they're supposed to out of the box and on paper. And what I mean by that more specifically is this right here, the Crucial X8. Unfortunately, my experience with this drive hasn't been the best. Although it's got some fast rated speeds, it doesn't actually hold its speed very well. So you can actually start transmitting files over it. It'll begin saying like 2 minutes, and then over time, when it starts heating up, it'll really slow down. It's actually taken me longer to copy over a project onto this drive than it has been onto, say, like one of these drives, which is just a bog standard USB 3 hard drive. And that is just purely because of the heat problem. After this drive, I then tried to go for a slightly slower one, which is this one here, which is the Crucial X6. This is rated slower, so I figured because it's going to be slightly slower, it's not going to get as hot. And I was right in that sense that if I was to do big copies over, it would actually hold its speed a little bit more steady. But nonetheless, it still has that problem of where it does overheat and it does start to slow down over time. And here we have the Crucial X10 Pro. Now I've got a love-hate relationship with this drive because it's actually a 4 terabyte. It's been working perfectly for me for the past 3 months, but unfortunately just yesterday it's decided to conk out on me and die. The problem that I have now is whenever I connect it into USB-C, it then just after a while just decides to disconnect randomly. Thankfully, I managed to get all the critical files off this drive and then transfer it over to a separate hard drive. So I've got my backups over there and that's not a problem. But now this drive is just completely unreliable. I've tried to see if formatting it would actually reset the problem, but unfortunately, even during the formatting process of trying to make exFAT or APFS or NTFS, it just keeps conking out on me. I did actually contact Amazon about this, and thankfully they did say they'll accept a refund and provide a full refund to me. So I'll be sending this back tomorrow. I'm not a biggest fan of the Crucial drives. I've actually purchased 3 of these purely based off cost. But unfortunately, you do get what you pay for. So if I was just to park these aside, and I'm just going to say moving forward, I probably won't ever recommend Crucial SSDs. The next one up the list would be this SanDisk. I haven't actually heavily used this one because it held a big project on it. It's still even on this drive to this day. And I haven't moved this stuff over into archive. I edited a very large project off this drive, and that's before it's still holding it and it's still working fine. But there was a couple headlines a couple years ago where they started talking about SSDs from SanDisk failing a lot. So with that, I'm a little bit hesitant to continue with the idea of purchasing another SanDisk SSD. I believe I did actually read up an article about this, and they did actually state that it was actually a specific batch that had the problem with it. And this one wasn't a part of that issue. But unfortunately, I have lost a little bit of confidence with SanDisk. And I guess the trust with the brand can only be rebuilt over time. This now leads me on to the last 3 SSDs, which are the Samsungs, which I've had 0 issue with them over time. I've had 0 slowdowns and 0 heating problems with them. This one here, the T7 Shield, is probably the most heavily used at this point. I've had this one the longest, which is the Samsung T5, which has only been holding photography projects, so it's not really in high demand in that sense. But nonetheless, I've had 0 issue with it, and it's still working to this day. This one here, similar to the SanDisk, this one specifically has only just been holding on to 1 or 2 big projects on there that I was working off, and it's still currently holding on to them. But these projects are finished and it's just still there technically as an archive, which I should really actually clear these off and put them into an actual archive. But again, no issues whatsoever. This one here, the T7 Shield, day in and day out has been my workhorse SSD. The video wasn't meant to be anything technical to get into any scientific tests or anything like that. I just want to share my experiences with these drives. And I can say, hand on my heart, I think this will be the last Crucial drive I ever buy. I will not be purchasing these because I've either had 1, a failure, 2, overheating problems, and 3 / slower overheating problems. This one here hasn't actually caused me any problems at all. It is just literally the headlines that have kind of like thrown out the trust for me a little bit. But I'm not writing SanDisk off, it's just not my first choice. So moving forward for the foreseeable, I'll be trusting my data with Samsung SSDs.